The representation of life in train dreams. Train dreams uses visual storytelling to explore how a single human life exists within the vast, ongoing movement of the natural world. Rather than explaining its themes through dialogue, the film relies on light, camera language, reoccurring motifs, and environment to quietly express the fragility and impermanence of human existence. Part 1. Natural lighting. Train dreams is almost entirely lit by natural light sources. One of the only examples of fabricated lighting being used is during the forest fire scene, for obvious reasons. Instead of using artificial lighting, the film relies entirely on weather, fire, and the high dynamic range of the Arri Alexa 35. This choice allows the film to emphasize the beauty of the natural world, whilst also helping the story convey the depth of nature in comparison to human life. In other words, characters are less visually prioritized, putting more emphasis on the environment around them. Nature is not staged or enhanced, it is simply observed. Part 2. Camera. The camera in train dreams is almost always in motion. It shakes, pans, and tracks through spaces, mirroring the constant movement of life itself. Time moves forward, regardless of personal tragedy or joy, and the camera reflects this unbroken flow by constantly moving. But that's a bit of a lie. Truthfully, there are some still shots throughout the film. There's one here, 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 and here, to name a few of them. However, what do they all have in common? Well, it's exactly what you think it means. The stillness represents Grainer's life facing a changing point or his life being at a standstill. One example is here. He is obviously bothered by a thought and goes out of his way to ask Claire for advice. After confronting Claire, we see it here. The camera's back in motion, showing how his life can keep moving forward. In moments of loss or aftermath as well, the camera becomes completely still. This contrast creates a visual language where movement equals life and stillness equals death. The static frame forces the viewer to pause and acknowledge finality, even as the world beyond the frame continues. Part 3. Motifs. Throughout Train Dreams, there is a repeated emphasis on hands, grounding the film in physical touch and human connection. We see this in Grainer's warm-up routine before work, where his hands prepare for labour. These movements emphasize the physical toll of his life and the intimacy between his body and the work he performs. Hands are also used to express tenderness and connection. His wife gently plays with his beard, a small gesture that communicates intimacy more powerfully than dialogue. Later, Grainer plays with a candle flame in front of his baby, his hands hovering between danger and care, symbolizing both protection and fragility. These moments remind us that while life is fleeting, it is experienced through touch. Hands become a quiet symbol of love, labor, and presence, temporary, but deeply human. Part 4. The environment. The progression of props in Train Dreams reflects the movement of time and technological change. Grainer's tools evolved from handsaws to axes to explosives and eventually the chainsaws. Each shift represents advancement and humanity's growing attempt to dominate nature. Yet, Grainer struggles to keep pace. Technology moves faster than he can adapt, and rather than empowering him, it leaves him behind. Progress continues, indifferent to the individuals it replaces. By the end of the film, nature asserts its ultimate power. Grainer's old cabin is slowly enveloped by the forest after his death, erasing the evidence of his life. Even landscapes once marked by destruction show little sign of what occurred. Nature regenerates, heals, and moves, but human lives end. The film emphasizes how easily human presence is absorbed back into the earth. Grainer's life, while meaningful, become barely distinguishable from the land itself, a reminder that he was only there for a brief moment in the planet's ongoing existence. Train Dreams, on the surface, covers one singular man's life. However, when you take a closer look, you see this man's humanity and how his life is no different to ours.